Parallelism sounds like really difficult to write in cursive.
Oh god, that's just a bunch of L's and P's. Pretty simple. All right, so parallelism. What three things does parallelism accomplish? So much like positives are used to clarify, describe, explain, etc., what does parallelism accomplish? If you don't know, look in your book. If you're looking in your book, what Miss Johnson?
Parallelism is help to guide the reader and like what needs to be emphasized most.
Okay, so emphasis is one thing. What else does parallelism do? I'm looking in the right spot. Someone help us out. What page is parallelism stuff on?
384.
384 is where it starts. But what heading should you be looking under? Rhetoric. And what page is that on, Mr. Rybecki?
386.
386. The answer is in the first paragraph.
Contrast.
Oh, yeah.
Bam.
Contrast and connect. So positives do clarify, explain, specify, whatever. Parallelism emphasizes, contrasts, and connects. You should have that written down because you are going to eventually be asked to identify, explain what it's doing, and analyze its rhetorical effect. Now, there are three different types of parallelism discussed in that section. What are the three different types? You can have parallel words. Yep. Words, phrases, and clauses. Okay. Now, on page, Mr. Rybecki, what page was this emphasis business on again?
36.
On page 387, there's a bunch of fancy words. Words like antithesis, words like zaguma, words like antipasta. Okay. Raise your hand if you're taking the AP Lang test. You want to know those words. So you want to be able to know what zaguma is. You want to know that antithesis is an opposite idea. You want to know that, what's the first word that's in there? Anaphora. You want to know the definitions of those things. So take note of that for yourselves. The rest of you don't care. Okay? You will be able to get by the rest of your life without knowing what zaguma is. The more important thing that we're all aware of now is that parallelism is used to emphasize, contrast, and connect. And we can have parallelism on the word level, on the phrase level, and on the clause level. Got it? What's the difference between words and phrases?
One is a one word.
One is a word.
The other is multiple words.
The other is more than one word, right? What's the difference between a phrase and a clause?
Clause is like not complete sentence.
Oh, if it's an independent clause. Dun,
Clause is
dun.
an idea.
It can be a complete sentence. Yeah. So words are smaller than phrases. Phrases are smaller than clauses, or you can go larger than, larger than. Now, it's not necessarily important that you can say, yes, this is an example of parallelism in word form. Or no one's going to care if you say, this is parallelism in clause form. Okay? You need to, it's kind of like you need to be able to identify it when you see it. Okay? So, let's take a look at these couple of sentences. So here's sentence one. Why should we live with such hurry and waste of life? Okay, here, the words hurry and waste are both being used to modify what word? Someone say live. So both of these words are modifying the word live. Okay. So this is an example of parallelism. Two words being used to modify one word. Anytime you use a list, that is an example of parallelism. You're listing three things. Okay? Down here, in eternity, there is indeed something true and sublime. Where do you see parallelism? True and sublime are doing what? Yeah. In eternity, there is something true and sublime. Okay. So one example of parallelism. Now, would you say that this parallelism, true and sublime, is emphasizing, contrasting, or connecting? Connecting what to what? Let's go up here. Hurry and waste are doing what? Connecting, emphasizing, or contrasting? Emphasizing what? So this is, we should live with hurry, or why should we live with hurry and waste? It's emphasizing live. Okay. Down here, it's not contrasting, obviously. Is this connecting or is this emphasizing? If you're going to say connect, you have to be prepared to say blank is being connected to blank. Most of the time, this is going to be E word, emphasis. Okay, this is emphasizing something about eternity, that it's true and that it's sublime.
Josh Bell would have a day with this.
Okay. Now, men esteem truth remote. This is complicated to think of. Men esteem means what? To esteem something means hold something with value. I or you hold in high esteem my, I don't know. I hold in high esteem Lustig's stylistic choices. Okay, that means I like the way he's dressing. Okay, so men hold in high regard truth. We know what the word truth means. Remote. What does remote mean? Yeah, isolated, right? Isolation. So if I hold in high regard truth and isolation, okay, in the outskirts of the system, behind the farthest star, before Adam and after the last man. Okay, now here, all of this is emphasizing what?
The remote.
Truth remote. Okay, so in that way, this is functioning as what?
No.
And a positive, right? Because I'm giving further clarification, okay, about remote. This is also an example of parallelism, okay, because you can see in the outskirts of the system, okay, that's one. Behind the farthest star, that's two.
Preposition.
Before Adam, after the last man. You can see parallelism before and after. So we have, these words are similar to each other, right? Okay, and that before, after, it's not like they mean the same thing, but they're underneath the same umbrella of word. We have before, and then we have something. We have after, and then we have something. So all of this parallelism is being used to emphasize, connect, or contrast. It's emphasizing. What is this all emphasizing? How remote something is. Does that make sense? Okay. You help me with the second sentence. Where do you see the parallelism?
No.
More difficult because there is no zeitgeist to read, no template to follow, no mask to wear. You don't need to know any definition to be able to identify the parallelism. Zeitgeist is a word we don't know the definition of. Or does someone? Master, you're our local word expert.
I don't want to be put on the spot here.
Anybody know zeitgeist? Don't Google it. Zeitgeist means kind of like cultural connection. Like if you're a gamer, a game that's in the zeitgeist of your existence is probably Fortnite. Ugh, I know, I hate it. Stupid. Okay, but anyway, where do you see examples of parallelism?
No.
No zeitgeist to read, no template to follow, no mask to wear. Okay, does that make sense? Now we see a list. Again, whenever there's a list, you're probably automatically using parallelism even if you don't know it. Got it? Okay. Okay, now some more parallelism. Can anyone, without me giving you any clues, identify parallelism that exists in this? This is a title of a book. What is parallel to what? Shab?
Where they would do what?
Yeah. So we have the word where and the word what. Those are two words that are under the same umbrella, right? And then after where I lived, what I lived for. Okay. This one's going to be a little more tricksy. Name that movie. It says Trixie in movies. Lord of the Rings. Gollum. Anybody? Get out of here. All right. We perceive that only great and worthy. Sorry. That only.
That's why they don't figure it out, Lindenberg.
Yeah, we perceive that only great and worthy things have any permanent and absolute existence. That petty fears and petty pleasures are but the shadow of reality. Okay, I'm going to tell you that
There's more than one instance.
there is more than one instance.
There are a lot of
Yep.
instances.
So where do we find parallelism on the word level? Where do you see words connected to other words? Shab? Yep. So we have great and worthy. Where else? Permanent and absolute. Great and worthy are talking about what? Things. Permanent and absolute talking about what? Okay. Hey, where else do we see stuff on the word level?
Fears and pleasures.
Yeah, we have repetition of petty fears, petty pleasures.
Fears and pleasures are antonyms of one another.
Fears and pleasures, got parallelism there. Okay, so there's parallelism kind of like on the word/phrase level. Who can notice parallelism or say something about parallelism on a bigger level and use my blue mark as a clue?
What we perceive versus reality.
It's contrasting that we
Yeah.
think the great and worthy things are permanent, but that the fears and pleasures are really.
You both are knocking on the door.
Do you want a Sprite cramp?
What sentence structure is being repeated? The idea of, see, this whole chunk, this chunk is repeated here. Blank and blank, blank. Blank and blank, blank. Where else is that achieved? Petty fears and petty pleasures, and then it goes all the way to the end. So that style of a sentence structure is repeated here, here, and here. So that you would say that is parallelism. Got it? Okay. That's all for today, you crazy kids. Thanks for sticking around an extra minute. Again, those of you that haven't handed something in, you have until the end of the day.